Welcome back to the channel, guys. Donnie D back at you. So today I got a quick video here for you. I'm going to be installing the inside of this niche, basically setting the inside of the niche. As always, you always want to key your substrate. So I actually have the back of the niche keyed in, and then I have one solid piece of tile I'm putting in the back of that, and then I'm framing out with the rest of the field tile. The bottom niche, I always like to use one solid piece of marble or a tile. That way you can make sure you get your proper pitch for the water to drain out of that. That's important. I don't like to have multiple different size tiles in there, so because getting the proper pitch is a lot more time consuming and difficult to get it right. So this, using one solid piece is the way I usually prefer to do it. It could be done the other way, like I said, but it's definitely more time consuming, and when it goes that way, I definitely have to charge the client a little more. So I always recommend this way. That way it could be more efficient for all the parties involved. But anyway, I'm just going to be pretty much tiling the inside of the niche, then I'll show you a quick clip of that. And then I also have towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I'm tiling the front of the curb. So when I do my niches, I always like to do the bottom of the niche first, let that dry. I'll come back the next day. And I know that takes more time, but ideally when you set the bottom of the niche, if you start stacking tile on it, I don't care if you have the best thin set in the market, it's going to start pushing it down and sagging it, and then your pitch is going to be incorrect. So set it one day, come back the next day when it's dry, finish off the whole inside the niche between the top and the sides. And doing niche work is really detailed work, right? All your cuts, all it is cuts in the niche. There's cuts all over the place, so it's a lot of time to do these things, and they all have to be exactly on, very detailed. So you want to make sure your cuts are good. You don't want no wide joints anywhere here and there. Make sure everything looks good. For example, when you cut the inside pieces on the niche on the left and the right there that meet the bottom piece of marble there, you just can't cut the bottom of it square, okay? And the reason why that is because it's pitched out towards the drain in the shower. So that bottom piece essentially has to be cut on an angle anywhere from 1/8 to anywhere from 1/16 to 3/16, depending on the pitch. Most times I aim for about 1/8. So what I do to get that cut, either mark a level line where I want that piece to be, or just I'll cut the tile a little bit long on the bottom and just slowly take off pieces. And once that fits, then I check it on the other side, flip the tile around backwards, and that will tell me if that if it's good for the other side. So I'll mark a piece of tile. That way I know my angle is correct. It's kind of like a jig. And once those are cut, I like to do the top part first. Cut my profile in. I leave a little bit of a gap on both sides. A lot of guys like to miter their inside corners. I personally don't. You can have some sharp pieces and whatnot, and I don't see the need for it essentially. So I like to just cut mine square. So I do the top tile piece first. I basically put it up there. Well, I actually have the profile cut first, and then I kind of dry fit the whole thing to see how everything looks. Then what I'll do is I'll set the top part first. Once that's set, I'll cut my profiles for the left and right, and then pre-cut my pieces, dry fit everything. That way once you get some mortar up there, you can set it and be done with it one shot versus back and forth, and you got thin set all over the place. Take your time, make sure things are cut correctly, and set them once and be done. So I'm just going to pretty much time lapse the rest of this niche, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. One thing I also do actually is I take my plastic speed square, and being a tile guy, I like the plastic ones, way less chance of chipping the tile, but use whatever works for you. I just like the plastic ones. Anyway, if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm actually checking for squares. So when I set that top piece, I put the square on the back of the niche. I make sure that it's square there. You don't want it going up too far in the back or too low in the front and just be at a square, and that just doesn't look good. So as you do it, check that everything is square and level and plumb. As long as that top tile that you cut there is you know straight, it should be level. So you just follow that and make sure you're square to the back of the niche. And as far as the sides go, same story. As long as that tile is cut straight, it should be plumb. And you just want to make sure you're square with the back of the niche. Okay, so this is the finished product, what it looks like. I like to use my wedges to make sure everything stays in place, because sometimes things will start moving around on you. I see some guys use tape. I try not to. I make sure that everything's right where I want it and try to kind of pin it with the wedges so it can't go in and out, and go from there. Okay, now that I got the niche done, I'm going to show you how I tile the front of this curb. So once again, I have all these pieces completely pre-cut. I got my profile for the left side pre-cut. Everything is ready to go. So when I tile the front of the curbs, a lot of guys will skip this step. They'll cut them down all the same size, and you have different size grout joints where the tile meets the top of the marble threshold there. Now the thing is, guys will say, well, you're never going to see. Sure, if you never get down low, but you know, I take it to the next level, make sure everything is looking good. So when I make these cuts, I don't just rip them down all the same size, because the floor is really dead on level unless we did a mud job or soft leveler. So what I do is I pre-cut each piece, I measure them all, making sure that the gap to the floor is, usually I try to aim for 1/16, but no more than 1/8, because that's how wide the silicone bead would be, where the curb tile meets the floor tile. So that's what I aim for. And then where it meets the top of the marble threshold there on the curb, usually aim for about 1/16. Try not to go more than that, sometimes an 1/8, but that's like the max. I just make it consistent along the top. So whatever your gap is to the top, and like I said, I aim for 1/16. You just want to make that even going across. So I do like that, because when I set the top of these marble curbs here, they're dead on level. I mean, I use just the bill level. That thing is dead on perfect level. So long as you follow that curb, that gap with your grout joint should be, you know, even. And as long as you follow that and you make the grout joint to the top of the curb even, your vertical grout joints where it goes up the curb there should be even. So for example, when I set this tile right, I'm doing right here, where it goes up the curb, sometimes those joints can go in and out, and what you want to do is go easy way to check if it's straight. When you set the tile, just butt them next to each other, okay? And if there's no gap in between, if it's perfectly straight, then you can pull them apart, and your grout joints even going upwise and vertically plumb. Because as you start wedging up the tile on the floor and making your adjustments there, you could make that grout joint kind of waving going vertically. So it's a good idea just to keep the grout joint even across the top with all these tiles that I'm setting in front of the curb, and that will make sure that your grout joints are you know, even. And if they're not, like I said, butt the tiles together. See how the gaps look. If there's a gap on the bottom, and obviously the top's too tight and you got to lower it here and there, but you'll get the idea when you do something like this. But you know, as I say, you know, I got the curb keyed in there, and I got a 1/2 inch trowel. I'm actually using some clips on here to make sure everything stays dead on flat. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's pretty much all I'm going to talk about here. I'll just time lapse the rest of it. Hope you got something out of it, you learned. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I help you out the best I can. Thanks for tuning in. Donnie D, signing off.